Welcome back. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee from 107.5 WBLS. You're watching Open, and thank you. We appreciate you. Our next guest is a U.S. Army veteran, a combat veteran, and an educator, and a national security and foreign policy expert, and the founder of Diversity and National Security. She's here to speak about her latest book, Why National Security Matters, and so much more. So please welcome to the show, Asha Castleberry-Hernandez. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bob Lee.
You ready to go to the range?
I'm ready
You're
to go
ready?
to the range, yes.
All right. So listen, give us a little background on you. You got a lot of history with you, with the coming through the military and everything.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
I appreciate that, and especially when now that Veterans Day is coming up soon.
Yes, yes.
So I think for everyone who has served in this country, because you know we're only less than 1% of the population right now. That's very low compared to the Vietnam War, where it was the percentage was a lot more. So,
Right.
I just stumbled into the national security field after 9/11. I'm a New Yorker, raised in Westchester County, and just when 9/11 happened, it affected me. And in fact, it was one of those things that inspired me to actually go in the military. I'm that wave that actually wanted to join the military because of 9/11, because I felt like we were attacked, and I want to serve my country and protect my country. Many of us felt that way around that time. So that's when I decided to enroll in ROTC program down in Hampton University. At Hampton University, the real HU, not Howard.
Yeah.
So, and then from there on, stumbled into national security furthermore as a HBCU student, and then also studied abroad in China, learned about the rise of China, and after I was commissioned, the first unit I served in was in Harlem. I'm a Harlem Hellfighter, 369 Sustainment Brigade.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
My daughter just sent me something. She's a Navy vet, but she just sent me something from, what's it, 369, right?
Yes, 369 Sustainment Brigade. Learned a lot from serving as a Harlem Hellfighter.
Yeah.
And then went beyond that point of just eventually serving in the Middle East. And I knew I was going to be deployed.
That's history within itself.
Yes.
The 369. So you served in the Middle East, and then what happened from there?
Well, before I was deployed in the Middle East, I was actually a graduate student at Columbia University. And I remember one day walking in, and I used to see Mayor Dinkins a lot too, by the way. Yeah. His institute was right next door to Columbia SEPA program. And I remember one day walking in, looking up at the TV, and like you said, there's always something going on. Well, there was always something going on in the Middle East, and that's when the Arab Spring happened, when protesting just swept from Tunisia all the way into Iran, into Afghanistan. And that just completely changed the Middle East to where now you had a lot of fragile hotspots happening within the Middle East. And so I deployed right after the Arab Spring, coming into a region where you had some instability in Libya, the Syrian crisis, and then you also had a lot of instability in Iraq. So my first assignment in the Middle East was working very closely with the Kuwaiti Armed Forces on security cooperation, building relations, doing bilateral, multilateral exercises. And then from there, transition to counterterrorism. Now, that ended up happening because while in the Gulf region, a big, nasty black snake coming out of Syria into Iraq just took over the Iraq overall, probably captured about 60% of the country known. And this was fueled or taken over by a group called ISIS. Yes. So the Iraqis reached out to the United States as well as other countries for support. And so my unit was the first unit to go into Iraq after the 2011 troop withdrawal. So President Obama pretty much withdrew out of Iraq and Afghanistan, and then we did a reversal in 2014 because of ISIS.
So now you're working on national security?
Yes, still.
Still?
Yes, so I'm teaching national security. I'm at Holyoke. I'm a Cyrus Vance, visiting professor there, where
Oh,
I
yeah.
teach about the executive and legislative branch in terms of how for foreign policy making. And then I also teach them about the priorities in national security.
Yeah.
Especially looking at the current ones right now, just coming from the Biden-Harris administration. There's a lot to talk about involving national security, especially when it
Yeah.
comes to migration, U.S. armed forces as how we could build up as a competitive force comparing to Russia and China,
Yeah.
as well as looking at cybersecurity, artificial intelligence.
What's that right there?
That is President Obama
Uh-huh.
in the Situation Room, sitting next to Susan Rice as well as John Kerry.
Yeah. So you're around all these people.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Great, great. Now, when you talk about national security, is it looking at how to keep America safe and our communities safe?
Yes.
Yeah.
And in the 21st century, it's more complex. When you look at the context of national security, you have to look at traditionally it's military threats and intelligence.
Yeah.
But now it's more complex in terms of it ranges from hard security to soft security. Some of these foreign threats are not your typical invasion from one state actor into another. Some of them don't see borders, like for instance, like COVID-19, cybersecurity, the effects of climate changes. So it's more complicated than you think. And what you're seeing in Washington, D.C. is us driving resources to ensure that we are up to speed when it comes to national security. Now, another thing that's important to note, we spent about 20 plus years on counterterrorism after 9/11. Now we have shifted to what we call strategic competition, which was introduced by former Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis, saying that we are now in the era of strategic competition where we're going to be countering both our near-peer competitors known as China and Russia. But China is more of our enduring threat, where we're going to be really engaged with China on a more complex and enduring basis.
Yeah. You know what I don't understand? You know, it's like me. I grew up. I was into sports. I was boxing, and you go into the ring, and you have an opponent, but you go into the ring and you beat yourself up first before you got in there to address, to confront your opponent. It seems like our country's beating our own butts. There's some things happening here that we need to address too, so that we can come together to look upon all those other things that are happening out there. It seems like we have some threats within.
Yes. So in my book, I've actually mentioned one of our biggest threats is our political polarization, our internal political instability. And that projects out to the world. And you'll be surprised how many of our allies, our partners, foreigners, just watch very carefully how we're behaving, how we're treating one another. And that's a reflection of our global leadership. So political polarization is a critical issue for us. And looking at now we're in the, the end of the elections, who we vote matters. Who we put out there in the world matters. When it comes to American power, American global leadership, that person that's going to be sitting in the Oval Office, the President of the United States, is a reflection of us.
Yeah.
Plus, when it comes to American power, many of our allies and partners look up to us for advice.
Yes.
It's not just about, we want to pull resources from you. It's about also looking up to the American people and embracing our values. And so who we put out there matters. And if we have, someone who is serving as the President of the United States that's combative, that's beating up groups and different people, that's a reflection of how we are abroad. And that erodes American global leadership.
People looking at that.
Yes.
People, yeah. So you got to keep us safe within and in and out. So let's talk more about your book. Let's hold this up. I think we put it up there once before. Here we go. Look. There you go. Throw the picture up also, and I'll drop this. There it is right there. Give us a quick synopsis of what's in this book.
Yes.
Just touch it. Just touch it.
So my book is actually a memoir, and it touches on so many topics of me engaged as a national security professional in multiple areas. So I started off with 9/11.
Yeah.
Then my time in China, learned about the future of the Chinese economy and how I knew at that moment, at 21 years old in 2005, that China is going to be an important actor that we are going to have to deal with. So from learning about that, from about China, and then moving as a Harlem Hellfighter, serving in Central America, learning about democracy, and then returning back to Central America as an election observer during the 2009 presidential elections, I learned a lot about democracy and the importance of why we should vote. And this was right after President Obama won an election. And then shifting from there to the Middle East, learned about counterterrorism, about American leadership, about multiple things. I felt like this is a perspective that people need to know about. You know, I don't come from, you know, a wealthy home. I'm, you know, middle-class woman from New York that has a perspective that looks at things differently and can relate to how I grew up out here in New York.
Yeah.
and I felt like because United States tends to have people that don't think globally, this is a book to help you think globally and helps you understand how things out abroad affect you at home. And what inspired me to write the book is after I came home as a combat veteran, I saw a different type of America. And this is in my chapter, I think 6, where America seemed a bit disappointed about where they stand in the world. There was a backlash on immigrants, the world, trade, I mean, multiple things. And then you start to see the rise of populism and how it's also interconnected with the Brexit in United Kingdom or in Europe. So I remember teaching at Fordham University about foreign policy, and the students there loved it because they felt like this is a perspective that we don't hear about. And so I felt like I need to amplify that perspective and in a relatable way. So my memoir is not just about policy recommendations, which I provide. It's also about just personal experiences, you know, just sitting there as a soldier in the middle of Iraq, helping with the Iraqis, to observing elections in El Salvador. You know, that is relatable.
Wealth of information. You come through a whole lot.
Absolutely.
You come through a whole lot.
And as a woman of color, we need our perspective out there.
Yes.
You know, this national security is predominantly run by white males. So we need more diversity in this space.
I got 1 minute left.
Yes.
What do you tell people who think voting is not important?
Oh, voting is important. It makes a difference. And just going back to why is it important? It's important because representation matters. Diverse representation matters.
Yeah.
But voting has to come along with accountability. Don't just give out your vote. You also hold that elected official or the person you're voting for accountable for the policies that you support. That's why it matters. So who you have in place that works on policy, shapes policy, and listens to the people, they represent you. And that's why it matters.
There you go. War I need.
Shen Shen. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Okay.
Asha Castleberry-Hernandez, author, Why National Security Matters. Pick up a book. It's in all the stores right now, Amazon and all that stuff, all right? Boom, boom, boom. And we'll take a quick break and we'll come back with more. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Again. We love you.
Yes.
All right.